There's a peculiar loneliness that comes at 3 a.m. when worry has its grip on the human heart. The world sleeps peacefully while minds race through catastrophes that haven't happened, conversations that might never occur, and futures that exist only in the anxious theater of thought. Chests tighten with each imagined scenario, and peace feels like a foreign country visited once but impossible to find again. For anyone experiencing that familiar knot in the stomach, that weight on the chest, that endless loop of what-ifs playing on repeat, here's an essential truth. This isn't weakness or brokenness. This is the human experience, one of the most universal forms of suffering, the pain created in our own minds when fear takes hold. And just as countless souls have found their way through this darkness using ancient Buddhist wisdom, so can anyone willing to listen. Part 1: The Illusion of Thought, when the mind creates its own prison. Here's a truth that takes many years to understand. Thoughts are not facts, they're just mental events. They arise and pass like weather patterns in the vast sky of consciousness, and just like weather, they can feel overwhelmingly real while having no substance at all. The Buddha discovered this truth through deep meditation under the Bodhi tree. He observed that thoughts arise from causes and conditions, memories, fears, hopes, sensations, but they have no inherent reality. They're like dreams that feel vivid during sleep but dissolve upon waking. Yet humans treat worried thoughts as if they're prophetic visions, carved in stone truths about what will happen. There's an illuminating story from the Zen tradition about a student who came to his master in great distress. "Master, terrible thoughts torment me. They won't leave me alone." The master replied, "Show me these thoughts. Put them here on the table so we can examine them." The student stammered, "But, they're in my mind." The master smiled gently, "If you cannot even produce them for examination, why do you grant them such power over your life?" This isn't philosophical wordplay, it's pointing to a profound truth about the nature of mental suffering. When the mind whispers at night, "You're going to fail," that's not a divine prophecy. It's just neurons firing in patterns shaped by past experiences and future fears. When anxiety declares, "Everyone will abandon you," that's not revealed truth. It's the primitive brain trying to protect from imagined social threats. Consider how often worried predictions prove wrong. Remember all those presentations that were supposed to be disasters but went fine? Those conversations that would end everything, but actually brought people closer. Our minds are terrible fortune tellers, yet we keep believing their predictions as if they have a perfect track record. Neuroscience reveals that human brains are like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. This negativity bias served our ancestors well. Better to imagine a stick is a snake than to assume a snake is a stick. But in the modern world, this ancient alarm system creates suffering where none needs to exist. We're not usually facing tigers, we're facing thoughts about tigers. And thoughts, no matter how convincing, cannot actually bite. Buddhism teaches the practice of observing thoughts with bare attention, seeing them simply as mental formations without adding layers of judgment, resistance, or identification. When noticing a worried thought is arising, rather than "I'm worried," space opens between the observer and the thought. One becomes the sky, watching clouds pass rather than being lost in the storm. Part 2: The Sacred Anchor of Now, Escape from Time's Prison. Here's something extraordinary. Worry cannot exist in the present moment. Try not to worry while fully feeling the sensation of breath entering the nostrils. Try to be anxious while completely absorbed in the taste of tea or the feeling of sunshine on your skin. It's impossible because worry needs time travel to survive. It lives in future uncertainties or past regrets, never in the immediacy of now. The Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh tells a story about Buddha and a farmer. The farmer was distraught because his cows had run away. He asked Buddha and his disciples if they'd seen them. When Buddha said no, the farmer ran off in continued panic. Buddha turned to his disciples and said, "How fortunate you are. You don't have any cows to lose." The cows represent all attachments to future outcomes, the need to control what hasn't happened yet. But life only actually happens in this moment. Every joy, every sorrow, every breath, has only ever occurred in the present. The future causing worry doesn't exist except as a mental fabrication. The past being ruminated upon is just electrical patterns in the brain's memory centers. A woman at a meditation retreat had been diagnosed with a serious illness. She shared this insight: "The diagnosis gave me 6 months of horrible days before realizing I wasn't dying in those moments. I was sitting in my garden, drinking coffee, petting my cat. I was so busy dying in the future that I was missing living in the present." The present moment isn't just a spiritual concept, it's a refuge, always available, always peaceful beneath the storm of thoughts. When catastrophizing about next month's bills, return to this breath. When replaying yesterday's mistake, come back to sensations happening right now. The present moment is like a reset button for the nervous system, bringing one back from stories to the simple reality of what is. There's a Buddhist practice called mindful noting, simply observing and labeling what's happening, breathing in, breathing out, thinking, worrying. Breathing in. This gentle labeling maintains an anchor in awareness rather than being swept away by content. There's no trying to stop thoughts or force peace, just staying present with whatever is, and in that presence, worry naturally loosens its grip. Part 3: The Kingdom Within, Where True Power Lives. A powerful king once visited a Buddhist monastery, frustrated and anxious despite all his worldly power. He complained to the abbot, "I command armies, rule vast lands, yet cannot command my own mind. What good is external power when enslaved by internal chaos?" The abbot replied, "Your Majesty seeks to rule the wrong kingdom. The only kingdom truly rulable is the one within." This is perhaps Buddhism's most practical teaching. While humans have limited control over external events, complete sovereignty exists over internal response. No one can stop the rain, but anyone can choose whether to dance in it or curse the clouds. Loss cannot always be prevented, but meeting it with grace or resistance remains a choice. Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychologist, embodied this truth when writing about experiences in concentration camps. Everything had been taken: family, freedom, dignity, health, everything except what he called the last of human freedoms, the ability to choose attitude in any given circumstance. If this freedom can be found in humanity's darkest places, surely it exists in daily challenges. But clarity is needed. This isn't about toxic positivity or suppressing genuine emotions. Buddhism never asks anyone to pretend everything is fine when it isn't. Instead, it invites recognition of the difference between pain and suffering. Pain happens when difficult things occur. Suffering is the extra layer added through resistance, stories, and refusal to accept what is. A young mother came to meditation teacher Jack Kornfield, exhausted from worry about her children. Terrible things keep being imagined happening to them, she cried. He asked her, in this moment, are your children safe? Yes, she admitted. Then in this moment, suffering is being created where none exists. Worry doesn't protect them, it only exhausts the worrier for battles that may never come. The Buddhist concept of right action teaches doing what's possible with what's available where one is, then releasing attachment to outcomes. Prepare for the presentation, then let go. Have the difficult conversation, then release control over reception. Health care, then stop trying to control mortality. This is the middle way, neither passive nor controlling, but engaged yet unattached. If these teachings are resonating with your heart, take a moment to share in the comments below, what worry is ready to be released today? The courage to name it might inspire someone else to set down their own burden. And if comfort is found in these words, consider subscribing to Buddha Coha for more Buddhist wisdom to guide you through life's challenges. Your presence in this community of seekers means more than you know. Part 4, The University of Suffering, where wisdom earns its degree. Nobody enrolls voluntarily in the University of Suffering, yet Buddhism reveals that the most difficult experiences often become the greatest teachers. Not because pain is good, but because within struggles lie seeds of transformation that cannot sprout in the shallow soil of constant comfort. The Buddha's own journey began with suffering. Prince Siddhartha had been sheltered from all pain until age 29, when venturing outside the palace revealed old age, sickness, and death. These sights were shattering, but that shattering became the crack through which light entered. Comfortable life had taught pleasure, encountering suffering taught truth. There's a Japanese art form called kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold, making the repaired piece more beautiful than the original. The philosophy is profound. Breakage and repair are not shameful history to hide but illuminating events to celebrate. Worries, struggles, nights of the soul, these are not detours from the path. They are the path, teaching strengths that couldn't have developed any other way. A businessman sought guidance from a Zen teacher after losing everything in a market crash. 20 years of work, gone. Complete ruin, he said. The teacher picked up a beautiful ceramic bowl and dropped it, shattering it on the floor. The man was shocked. Then the teacher began picking up pieces. Now, he said, something new can be created. The bowl's first life is over, but transformation has just begun. Your old life has shattered. What will be created from the pieces? Consider what difficulties teach. Experience of loss teaches the depth of love. Facing illness teaches the preciousness of health. Surviving betrayal teaches discernment and boundaries. Enduring anxiety teaches the path to peace. These aren't consolation prizes, they're wisdom treasures that can only be earned through experience. The Dalai Lama often speaks about exile from Tibet, one of his life's most painful experiences. Yet he says it became his greatest teacher, exposing him to the wider world, deepening compassion, and spreading Tibetan Buddhism globally in ways that never would have happened otherwise. He doesn't minimize pain but recognizes gifts hidden within it. Part 5. The Art of Sacred Pause, Finding Wisdom in the Space Between. In the split second between lightning and thunder, there's profound silence. Nature herself teaches about the power of the pause, yet modern life rewards instant reaction, immediate response, and constant motion. But what if the wisest action in many moments is nothing? An ancient Zen story tells of a young warrior who approached a master, demanding to learn about heaven and hell. The master looked with disdain and said, "You're too crude and stupid to understand such things." Enraged, the warrior drew his sword. The master said calmly, "Here open the gates of hell." The warrior, suddenly understanding, sheathed his sword and bowed. "And here," the master continued, "open the gates of heaven." That moment when the warrior paused, choosing response over reaction, that's where transformation lives. That's the sacred pause Buddhism invites the cultivation of. It's not inaction, it's conscious non-reaction. It's choosing to respond from the center rather than react from chaos. When worry arises, when familiar anxiety starts building, pause. Take one conscious breath. In that pause, ask, is this thought helpful? Is action needed right now? Or is this just spinning stories? Most often, worry reveals itself as mental noise, like a car alarm going off for no reason. Not every thought needs chasing, not every worry needs investigating, not every projected problem needs solving. Think about how sediment-filled water becomes clear. It doesn't clear through stirring, it clears through settling. The mind works identically. In the turbulence of constant thinking, clarity is impossible. But in stillness, in that sacred pause, mud settles, and clear vision emerges about what action, if any, is needed. Part 6. The Alchemy of Perspective, Transforming Lead into Gold. A group of blind men encountered an elephant for the first time. One touched the trunk and declared, "An elephant is like a snake." Another felt the leg and insisted, "No, it's like a tree." A third touched the ear and said, "You're both wrong, it's like a fan." Each was touching the same elephant but experiencing completely different realities based on a limited perspective. Problems are like that elephant, multidimensional, appearing completely different depending on the viewing angle. What looks like a disaster from one perspective might be liberation from another. Buddhism doesn't ask anyone to pretend problems don't exist. It invites seeing them from multiple angles, finding gifts hidden in difficulty. There's a famous Chinese story about a farmer whose horse ran away. Neighbors said, "Such bad luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe." The horse returned with 3 wild horses. "Such good luck," neighbors exclaimed. "Maybe," said the farmer. His son broke his leg trying to tame wild horses. "Such bad luck." "Maybe." Then war came, and his son couldn't be drafted because of the broken leg. "Such good luck." "Maybe." This farmer understood something profound. Immediate judgments about what's good or bad are usually premature. He maintained equanimity because he knew today's tragedy might be tomorrow's blessing in disguise. He couldn't control events, but he could control perspective, choosing peace over the emotional roller coaster of constant judgment. A woman was devastated when fired from her dream job. Months of depression and worry followed until realization came. The firing meant freedom from a toxic environment she'd been too afraid to leave. "It forced me to start the business always dreamed of but never pursued." That firing, she later reflected, was the worst thing that ever happened, until it became the best thing. Part 7. Faith as Experience, Building Trust on Solid Ground. When Buddhism speaks of faith, it's not requesting blind belief in invisible forces. Buddhist faith resembles trust, trust earned through experience, trust in life's process, trust that just as spring follows winter, difficult seasons will also transform. A student told her teacher, faith is lost. Everything believed has crumbled. The teacher asked, "Do you believe the sun will rise tomorrow?" "Of course," came the reply. "Based on what?" "Well, experience. It always has." The teacher smiled. "That's real faith, not wishful thinking, but confidence grounded in observation. Faith hasn't been lost, illusions have. Now genuine faith can be built on experience's solid ground rather than hope's shifting sands." Consider personal history. Every terrible day has been survived so far. Every crisis that felt destructive, survival happened. Every night that seemed impossible to face tomorrow, tomorrow came and was faced. This isn't luck or accident. This is evidence of resilience, proof of capacity to endure and transform. The Buddha compared faith to a seed. Planting happens not from the guarantee of harvest, but from seeing other seeds grow. Watering comes not from certainty but from trust in process. And gradually, through experience, what Buddhism calls verified faith develops, faith tested by life and found reliable. Part 8, Impermanence, the ultimate freedom. Here's the truth that can either terrify or liberate: nothing lasts. Not problems, not joys, not worry, not peace. Everything exists in constant motion, constant change, constant transformation. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus said the same river can't be stepped in twice. Buddhism goes further. There's no fixed stepper and no fixed river. A wealthy merchant approached a Buddhist master, consumed with worry about maintaining his fortune. The master led him to the ocean and asked him to cup water in his hands. "Hold it tight," the master instructed. The tighter the merchant gripped, the faster water escaped through fingers. "Now cup hands gently," the master said. Water stayed longer. "This is everything's nature," the master explained. The tighter the grip, the faster it flows away. Accept life's flowing nature, and find peace. Impermanence isn't Buddhism's way of depressing anyone. Nature promises that nothing stays stuck forever. Is that problem consuming thoughts? It's already changing even during contemplation. The dreaded situation. It will pass, transform, become something else. As Pema Chodron beautifully teaches, you are the sky. Everything else is just the weather. When impermanence is truly understood, worry loses much power. Why create permanent anxiety about temporary situations? Why hold fixed positions in a fluid universe? It's like trying to capture wind in a box, exhausting and ultimately impossible. Part 9, the community of shared humanity. One of the most isolating aspects is feeling alone in struggle, that everyone else has life figured out, while falling apart happens in isolation. But Buddhism's first noble truth isn't that individual life contains suffering, it's that life itself contains suffering. This is the human condition, the admission price to existence. There's a powerful teaching about a woman who lost her child and came to the Buddha, begging him to bring the child back to life. The Buddha said, "Help will come, but first bring a mustard seed from a house that has never known sorrow." She went door to door, and at every house, heard stories of loss, parents, children, dreams, health. She never found the mustard seed, but found something more valuable, understanding that grief connects all, that suffering is the thread weaving humanity together. Right now, millions of others lie awake with their own worries. Parents worried about children, children worried about parents, workers worried about jobs, and doctors worried about patients. Everyone is part of an invisible fellowship of human beings trying to navigate uncertainty with limited tools of human consciousness. Worry doesn't indicate weakness, it indicates humanity. Part 10. Coming Home to Simplicity. After all teachings, philosophy, and practices, Buddhism returns to something remarkably simple: this breath, this heartbeat, this moment. Enlightenment isn't required to find peace. Years of mountain meditation aren't necessary. Everything needed already exists within, waiting patiently beneath turbulence like the ocean floor beneath storm waves, always calm, always still, always there. A student asked a Zen master, "How long will finding peace take?" The master replied, "How long will noticing breathing take?" The student was confused. Breathing is happening right now. Then peace has been found right now, the master smiled. Whether it's noticed or not is the choice. This is worry's ultimate medicine, returning to the simplicity of what actually exists here. When money worries arise, can return happen to this breath's wealth? When health anxiety appears, can appreciation arise for what's working, eyes reading these words, hearts faithfully beating? When future fear emerges, can return occur to the only existing moment, this one? Buddhism teaches basic goodness, recognition that beneath all neuroses, beneath fears and worries, fundamental wellness exists, basic okayness that external circumstances cannot destroy. It's like the sun, sometimes cloud-hidden but always there, always shining, waiting for clouds to pass. Closing, the path forward. As this journey together concludes, one final image remains. Picture a mountain. Storms rage around its peak, winds of change, rains of sorrow, lightning of fear. But the mountain remains. Seasons change on its slopes, sometimes blooming with wildflowers, sometimes buried in snow. But the mountain remains. This is the true nature beneath worry's weather, solid, grounded, enduring. The path through worry isn't about becoming different. It's about remembering what already exists beneath frightened mind stories. The observer of thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. The consciousness watching worries arise and pass, not the worries. The sky through which storms move, not the storm. Worries won't disappear overnight. Real challenges deserve acknowledgement. But tomorrow's problems needn't be carried today. Every uncertainty doesn't require solving before rest comes. Only this moment needs meeting with whatever presence and compassion can be mustered, knowing that within exists a wellspring of wisdom and peace that no external circumstance can destroy. Remember these truths: thoughts are mental weather, not facts. The present moment always offers refuge. Events can't be controlled, but responses can be mastered. Difficulties sculpt strengths comfort never could. Sacred pause between trigger and response houses wisdom. Problems contain multiple perspectives and hidden possibilities. Experience-built faith surpasses wish-built hope. Nothing lasts, including troubles. No one struggles alone. And beneath complexity lies simplicity, this breath, this moment, this precious human life. If this message has touched something deep within, consider subscribing to Buddha Coha, where ancient teachings meet modern struggles. Share this video with someone wrestling with worry tonight. Sometimes the greatest gift is the reminder they're not alone in the storm. In the comments below, share which teaching spoke most deeply. Your insight might be exactly the medicine another soul needs today. Until next time, may peace be found in the present moment, strength in uncertainty, and may all remember that this too shall pass, leaving not unchanged but transformed, stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than before. May all beings be free from worry. May all beings find peace in the present moment. May all beings discover the unshakable calm dwelling within. And may trust arise that everything needed to weather this storm exists within, emerging like gold refined by fire, like the lotus rising from mud, like dawn that always, always follows even the darkest night.